Right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to CloseUp with Karin. So, today I am chatting with Clare Mackenney, who is an expert blogger and marketing manager of the successful family business Andrew Hayes, which is in Dalwood. If you haven't been there, you probably need to go and check it out because it's brilliant. Claire and I have known each other for quite a while now. I can't actually remember when we met, but our kids go to school together. We're both part of Live Bay Ladies. We love living on the Jurassic Coast. We go to Jurassic events together, and we both love walking. Although Claire is a lot better at it than I am. I think she manages to get out a lot more frequently than I do. So yeah, you're very good at that, Claire, aren't you?
Well, that's I enjoy it. It keeps me healthy and sane, I think.
Okay, Claire. So I was going to ask you about blogging today because I know there's a lot of people in the group who are interested in it. You've been blogging for quite a few years now, and you publish the brilliantly titled "FlipFlops Or Wellies," which I absolutely love. I remember actually, I know we were together at the time when you said one day, some years back now, I want to start a blog. Seems like ancient history, to be honest. And Flip Flops and Wellies has grown just enormously then. And you've even been mentioned on Radio 1, which is quite a coup. So I'm kind of wondering what inspired you to want to be a blogger in the first place?
Well, it just sort of developed in my mind, really. We moved house, actually not far from where I am now, to village up the road called Hawkchurch. And then I had the children; they were toddlers, and we started going out. And as you do when you have children, you start having a different way of going out. You're going for walks or finding little adventure play parks or different things that young children enjoy. And but as a result, I found all these other things that I didn't even realize existed right on my doorstep. Places to go, short walks. And it just got me thinking, well, if I don't know they're here, and on and off I've lived here all my life, then there must be lots of other people that don't know about it. And that sort of combined with a love of taking photos really was the sort of key to making it happen, really. And um, luckily, I have through the business, I had a web designer who was able to help me, and so yes, the idea was born, and then he encouraged me as well, and various friends encouraged it, and so flip flops or wellies became a real thing.
Yeah, brilliant. You grew up in a Devon farming family, didn't you? I was wondering, do you think your days of childhood, summer holidays, making dens, being on the farm, hauling bales of hay around actually helped your writing?
Um, I don't actually think it probably helped my writing at all. It definitely gave me the love of the outdoors and being prepared to put on a waterproof and a pair of wellies, whatever the weather, and probably that's what's made me drag the children out. I think probably I've always enjoyed reading, and I guess probably anyone who writes reads as well, and I think that's probably where it comes from. Although I
Yeah.
have to admit, I'm not exactly a creative writer, but I'm trying to get a bit more that way.
I don't know. I think your blogs are brilliant, actually. Claire, so there's going to be many people listening today who would love to have a go at blogging. What kind of advice would you give them? I mean, if someone wanted to start a blog, where would they start? What do they need to think about?
I mean, there's two main reasons these days that people blog. And in the old days, it certainly was just a personal diary or a personal kind of outpouring of something that you enjoy, whether you like craft or walking or anything, then people would write about it. And in the old days, a lot of it was people writing mummy blogs, and those still exist. But what really I think has happened is that businesses have realized that a blog actually works really well for them as well. And in terms of being able to add new content to a website and keep giving something for their potential customers, then having a blog has actually become an almost essential part of a business. And if you've got a website, then most people now are looking to have a blog.
Yeah, good point, actually. So, are there any pitfalls? I mean, what lessons have you learned from doing your blog?
I think certainly at the beginning, because I started blogging just for my own pleasure, and for my own kind of sharing things, I didn't really understand about optimizing the blogs. What most people have a website now as SEO, search engine optimizing, and I just wrote the titles. I didn't really think about how somebody would be finding that page. And ultimately, if you write a blog, you want people to find it, to read it. And so you have to, every single point of the construction of it, you have to think about, are you making the title right for someone to find you? And are you writing about what somebody wants to know?
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. And I think SEO is another topic that we probably need to run a session on.
It's another whole big topic in
It
itself. It is.
certainly is. It's a minefield, actually, isn't it? And once you get into it, there's all kinds of things you can do to drive people to it. But let's get back to FlipFlops. So it's been going for years now, and it is really successful. Like I said at the beginning, I know that one thing a lot of people struggle with is how to grow their audience. So can you share with us, what you did to start growing the audience for FlipFlops?
Right from the start, I set up all the different social media channels and had the name, managed to find the name that was consistent across. So each platform is got the same. Twitter, you can only have a much shorter sort of handle, so it's just FlipFlops Or on Twitter. But ultimately, if you search FlipFlops Or Wellies, in theory, on Instagram, Facebook, and all those, it's there. And I'm not saying everybody needs every social media channel, because it is a bit overwhelming, but certainly that's a massive part of sharing, because if you write a blog, you've got to tell people you've written it. It's no point just sitting there and hoping people find you, because with the best will in the world, and even unless your SEO is absolutely amazing, people will not just stumble across you. I did a bit of research this morning, actually, and there are, just on WordPress, there are 60 million blogs.
Whoa, goodness.
So, and that's probably mainly, that's English speaking people. And in America, they a lot of people blog on something called Tumblr, and there's 600 million.
Whoa,
So,
goodness.
you are one of many, and you won't get found unless you put yourself out there. And I think that's something, that was certainly a lesson for me, is actually having the confidence to go, I've written this, here it is.
Yeah, it's a big one. I think
put your hand up, put your hand up and say, here's something I'm prepared to share.
Absolutely. You've made there's two really important points there. One is branding, because you don't need to be on all the platforms, but you really do need to make sure that somebody else isn't using your brand name on the platforms. And it's something that I go on about all the time to my clients, because you have examples where somebody is on Facebook and they don't think to be on any other platform because they don't use it. But if they don't get that handle for themselves, then somebody else will go and use it. And I've had occasions where that's happened. So it's massively important that you've got kind of brand consistency and you can access it in any way that you want to. And the other thing is, a lot of people are quite self-confident, and they don't like doing what we're doing right now, actually, and putting themselves out there. And I think it's quite a difficult thing for a lot of people to kind of overcome. And the advice I always give people is, I don't look perfect, other people don't look perfect. You just need to give it a go, because I think people like listening to people.
That's right. And there's self-confidence is one of those things that often other people look at other people and say, oh, they look really confident. And I mean, I'm not desperately confident, and I must admit, it's taken me a long time now, just to, having done it for sort of 5 or 6 years now, to be able to say, press the button, go, yeah, I'm happy to share that. And occasionally I realize I've made mistakes or spelling mistakes or something, but you go back in and check it and change it. That's the beauty of something like a blog. You can easily go in and edit what you've done.
Absolutely.
So I mean, and that's another point that is one of the tips for blogging these days, is to make what they call evergreen content. So something that people will keep referring to, or it's not just relevant this week.
Yeah, sure.
Because you want to build up an audience, but you want to get people in the future to also read your old blogs. And if you can either make things that are going to be useful in the future, or you can go back and edit to keep them up to date, then that really helps with your being found as well.
Yeah.
Google
Very,
searches.
very good point. Very good point. You're a really busy person. You manage the marketing for Andrews Hayes, which I should think keeps you very tied up. And at the moment, you're same as all the rest of us, homeschooling kids. So, how on earth do you find time to write your blog as well as doing everything else? Have you got any time management tips for people?
To be honest, the blog has definitely taken a bit of a backseat at the moment. Um, I'm pretty bad at time management, I have to admit. But a lot of people do really swear by social media scheduling, Hootsuite, and things like that. And also, if the other popular platform for getting people to a blog these days is Pinterest,
Hmm.
and so a lot of people use Tailwind for that. I think if you are a business and you can afford it, it's like any other element of running a business is to um, pay for somebody to do the bits that you can't do.
Good
So,
point.
for instance, I mean, I'm lucky that I've got somebody who helps with all my sort of back end of the website, keeping the plugins up to date and the security. Now, personally, I wouldn't have a clue how to do that, but I
Yeah.
think but you could spend hours trying to do it, and someone else can do it in 20 minutes. So I
Yeah.
think it's very much,
Massively
you
important.
must just be prepared to pay for the things that you can't do yourself.
I think that applies to business in general, actually. And it's
Yeah.
one of the things I find with a lot of clients that I work with, that they're, because it's a small business, in fact, it doesn't matter what size it is, but they quite often try and do everything themselves. Or if they're a bigger business, you've got one person who's trying to control what everybody else is
Yeah.
doing. And unless you have that kind of self awareness to understand that you can't do everything, and if you spread yourself so thinly, you actually won't do a good job of it. What you need to be doing is thinking about, okay, what am I good at, what am I not good at, and can I outsource that to someone else and actually just spend the money on it? Because what a lot of people don't take into consideration is the value of their own time.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, for time management, very important, because your time's actually worth something. And if you're going to spend like 6 hours trying to do a design where somebody could do it in 20 minutes, then it's not a great use of your
No,
time.
exactly. Yeah, I think it's difficult when, if you're a small business and you don't make a huge amount of money, to take that leap, because you do think, oh, I can do it, I can do it. But the hours that you can spend, and I've done it, myself, I've spent hours on things sometimes, and then realized that somebody else could have done that in half an hour, and thought, oh, well, that
Yeah.
was. So yeah, I think time management and scheduling are all great, but you have to know your own limits as
Yeah,
well.
good point. Now, this is a question I'm asking everybody because we're in lockdown at the moment. So, lockdown has brought challenges for like every single business. What's been your biggest challenge for you blogging through it?
Well, I mean, I've got, obviously, I wear two hats. I've got my FlipFlops or Wellies blog, and for that, really, actually, the caravan park is the same. So the other blog is the business blog for the caravan park. Now, in both cases, it's about content, because my blog is out and about, going for walks, days out, cafes, that sort of thing. So
Mm.
it's been trying to share the content that's relevant at the time. So I've had to sort of look at social distancing days out, and places that you can go where you don't necessarily need to see anybody else.
Yeah, sure.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of people who write travel blogs, not surprisingly, have seen their traffic absolutely crash,
Mm.
because people are not searching, what to do in Rome for the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can't go anywhere.
Can't go.
So,
Yeah, I know.
but
Yes.
that said, last summer my blog was having the most page views ever, because I had on there already a really well established sort of walks and days out and that sort of thing. So
Yeah, yeah, and also I think last year, particularly in the UK, it was staycation central, wasn't it? So I think we had, where we are in Devon, we had a kind of record number of people down here, and I expect we'll see the same again this year. So I dare say you're going to find the same this year.
yeah, yeah,
And actually, touching on that, we can't travel at the moment, which is quite frustrating for everybody. So yeah, I know you've traveled the world, you've been all over the place. What's been your favorite place? And do you ever bring kind of influences from where you've traveled back to your writing, or do you keep it
Oh
local?
gosh, yeah. I mean, I was lucky. I used to have more sort of corporate jobs,
Mm.
and when I was 30, I basically resigned. Well, I planned to resign. I didn't just like do it on a whim. I planned to resign, and I basically gave myself a year out to go traveling. So I had amazing experiences in South America, but I have to say, probably the answer to the question, Nepal is one of my most favorite places. Has it influenced what I do? I don't know. I love photography, and I think
Hmm.
that's certainly something that, although I'm no professional and I do have the camera on auto most of the time, I do like the photos, and I think that brings a blog to life. And it's one of the key things. If you do write a blog, it really needs photos, even if they're not 100% relevant to what you're writing about. Just it breaks up the text, and it draws people to the page. People soon switch off if you really need
Yeah,
paragraph.
actually, I think you've just touched on a really good point there, which is people assume because it's a blog, it has to be a lot of text, and I always say this as well. When you're writing text, particularly when it's chunks of text, if you don't use images to break it up, you're going to lose people, because people kind of dart across the text these days. Nobody reads, like you'd read through a novel. They just don't do it.
No, and people are very visual. Most people
Yeah.
are visual, and that's the thing. It's sort of bold headlines and sort of paragraphs make it clear for people to see. Um, so yeah, I don't know that the travel is especially influenced the blogging, but in hindsight, if blogging was a thing 20 years ago, then I'm
Yeah,
sure I would have blogged about my travels. And
absolutely.
unfortunately, most of my photos are on film, not
Mm, yeah,
digital, so
so you
I
can't.
sort
Yeah,
of recreate them now.
it's frustrating.
Yeah.
All right, brilliant. So thanks for that, Claire. Now, where can people find the blog? Can you tell us where the both of your blogs are? So if people want to go and have a look at them, they can see them.
So the main blog is called FlipFlops Or Wellies .co.uk, and it's on the social media channels. Facebook's one of my most popular places for people. So that's just FlipFlops Or Wellies again, and it's also on Instagram and Twitter and Pinterest.
Hmm.
And the caravan park is the family business called Andrews Hayes Holiday Park. And so I write a blog on there as well about days out in East Devon, family friendly sort of places to visit, beaches and that sort of thing. And that's all over the internet as well.
Which is where you need to be. Like you said, you have to drive traffic. So, Claire, thank you so much for your time today. That has been really interesting and insightful into the world of blogging and how you go about it. So, thanks for being on CloseUp. I'm sure we'll probably be picking your brains again in the future on another topic. So, okay, that's today's close up over. We'll be back again for another one next week. Look forward to seeing you then.